So when I was a kid, I'll have to admit, I was a bit of a smart aleck. Whenever my mom would say something kind of new and novel, I would say, well, Mom, I didn't know that. Well, she would always reply with the same thing. She would say, well, Patty, you really don't know everything yet. And she was right. I had a lot to learn, and she had so much to teach me. And now that she's gone, I would seriously give anything for one more insight from Mom. So what if what I'm about to share with you today is actually the best idea that you've never heard of yet? My idea is SHUVA, S-H-U-V-A, not SHUVA, not Shiva, not Shiva, but SHUVA. And it has the power to help every human connect on a deeper and more productive level, even snarky teenagers like me and their moms. However, I did not come up with SHUVA for teenagers or for parents. I came up with it to help leaders build a better world in a better way through inclusive leadership. You see, I'm a leadership consultant and an author, and for almost 30 years, I have helped senior leaders from corporations, nonprofits, and government agencies. And many of them, especially those from technical fields like engineering and rocket science, are better at the heady stuff than at the hardy stuff. Somehow, those heartfelt leadership qualities are just so elusive and intangible, they don't do them. They know they're important to their leadership. They know that they matter to the people that they lead. Qualities like empathy, collaboration, and compassion, and trust. They just don't do it. So I came up with this idea. These clients are super smart people, and they love equations. So what if I could create a formula that would help them to know not only what to do to be great leaders, but exactly how to do it? And SHUVA is one of those formulas, and it works because it brings love in through the logic door. So I'll give you an example. Not long after my book on inclusive leadership came out, I met a man at a party, Dr. Todd Nelson. And I was kind of stunned when he said, wow, wait, are you the Patty Beach, the queen of SHUVA? Okay, I kind of laughed at that one. Pretty cute, right? And I said, yeah, that's me. He said, well, I want to thank you because SHUVA has changed my life. Okay, I'll have to admit, he kind of had me at the Queen of SHUVA comment because that was so cute, right? But I had to know, like, how did SHUVA change your life? And then he went on to explain, well, you see, I'm a physician. So whenever I SHUVA my patients, I connect with them. And then they tell me more about what's going on with them, and I can win their trust. So when I make my recommendations, they're a lot more likely to follow through. And he said, there's one other thing that's happened since I've learned about SHUVA. It's really helped me to up my dating game. All right. So not long after that, he introduced me to Tiffany, his newfound lady love. Oh my gosh, we bonded like that immediately. I just still remember her big, round, beautiful eyes. And I came to find out that she was also a SHUVA superfan. So it turned out that when Tiffany was a child, she was painfully shy and very, very sensitive, still sensitive. And she felt misunderstood and unseen often. And she thought SHUVA was such a powerful concept it could help kids. So she came up with this beautiful idea to create a children's book on SHUVA. One side would have these beautifully illustrated pages and stories for the kids, and then you flipped it over and it turned into a book on SHUVA for parents and teachers so they could help the kids. I absolutely love this idea, so I invited Tiffany to partner with me on it. But unfortunately, this last December, Tiffany's health was very fragile and she passed away before her dream could ever come true. So as she was leaving this world, I held her hand and I made a promise. Someday that book would get published. So, this is for her in many ways. So, now you're probably wondering, what the heck is SHUVA? Well, SHUVA is a acronym that stands for 5 universal human needs that we all have. We all need to be seen, heard, understood, valued, and appreciated. And we all need this regardless of our gender, our age, our profession, our culture, and even our language. I'm going to say this again. We all need to be seen, heard, understood, valued, and appreciated. I want you to think about this for a minute. And I truly hope you have someone in your life that does this for you. I know I do. So whenever I feel SHUVA, I feel like it's safe to let you into my world and to really be myself. And I feel motivated to work hard because I know that what I do and say matters to someone. And so I just come alive. But what about when these 5 needs aren't met? Ouch. That's when you feel invisible. Maybe you show up to work and you're talked over a lot. Or you don't get invited to talk. Or you bust your butt and no one notices. You might call that a toxic work environment, but it's more descriptive to say it's a SHUVA-less work environment. And it's often the reason that good people will quit their jobs. And what's happening now in the remote work environment is people are doing what's called quiet quitting. What that means is that they're on the payroll, but they're disengaged and unproductive. Now the good news about SHUVA is it's the remedy to this problem because it also stands for 5 tangible actions that anyone can do to meet those needs. I can see, hear, understand, value, and appreciate you. And when I do, it builds a superhighway for our collaboration and an opportunity for us to reach alignment. Now, as you can see, this is very simple and quite memorable. And you're already doing it. Isn't that great? However, it can be transformational if you drop in and take it to the next level. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. First is see. What you need to do to see someone is you look at them and you think about what are the remarkable qualities that make this a human on the planet. Ideally, you can come up with 3 words that describe them on their best day. And you kind of hold those inside so you can feed it back to them later. That helps them to feel seen. While you're doing this, it also helps to notice their mood and any challenges they may be facing. Now, what really helps a lot for seeing is to make eye contact. You just get a lot more information that way. However, I am surprised at how seldom this happens, especially in a work environment. Sometimes I'm coaching leaders and I'll ask them to tell me about the people that work for them. And then I'll say, well, what color are their eyes? Duck. I don't know. Half the time don't know, even for people that have worked for them for years. So what I've come to discover is when they do know the color of the eyes, when they do know those superpowers right off the bat, usually they're excellent managers. When they don't, usually they face performance issues, and they need a lot of coaching on that. Okay, next we go to the H for here. This is super simple. You just ask a question and zip it. Let the other person share until they feel complete. Now this can take a little while, so you need to plan accordingly. I have a little confession to make about myself. Sometimes I'm in a conversation with someone, and a couple of minutes will go by, and I have no idea what they said. I just blanked out. So this is pretty embarrassing in general, but when you're paid to listen to someone, like I am as a coach, this is mortifying. I cannot afford that. So I've learned that if I have a pen and paper and I write down the actual words a person's saying, I can stay tuned in. Now, unfortunately, see and hear in this equation is as far as most people get. As in, I see and I hear you, but I think X, Y, Z. That's just a conversational hijack that redirects our conversation from what you care about to what I care about, so I should you, shh, as we move on to my turn to talk. We just won't get very far unless we get down into the UVA part of the equation, so that's what's coming up next. U for understand. To understand someone, you need to listen under the words for what's standing there, as in understand. So what's standing under the words? What has meaning and heart for a person? What matters to them and what they care about? Sometimes you have to listen without words. They call this reading between the lines for what's not even said but is implied. Now, if you have a person from another country that has a foreign accent, that might throw you off. You may not get what they're saying right off the bat. I encourage you to just push through your discomfort. You may have to ask them to slow down or repeat themselves, but pretty soon you will tune your ear, and soon their accent will become charming to you. Furthermore, you will learn so much from anyone that's from outside your zip code and especially outside your borders. So now we go to the V for value. This is the most important part of the SHUVA equation, and it's the part that most people miss. Because valuing is when we stop talking past one another and instead we build on each other's ideas. You see, when I value someone, I put aside my own judgments, opinions, and evaluations long enough to let what they say inform my thinking. After all, the total sum of everything I know is just way smaller than what you and I both know. Now, my dad, who was the most excellent teacher of the value of valuing others, would say often to me, if you look for the good in someone, you will always find it. So when we value someone, we look for the good, and fresh ideas emerge, and we collect a treasure trove that comes from our connection, more options for our mutual success. So now we go to the last part of our SHUVA formula, A for appreciation. This is where I take the time to thank you for your time and your willingness to share your point of view. Even if we disagree, and actually, especially if we disagree. You see, it's through appreciation that I'm sending a signal to you that we will always have both a safe and a brave space to talk about anything. A safe and a brave space. Isn't that what we all really need right now, but is really sorely lacking? Okay, we've made it through the end of our SHUVA formula. Now let us share what a powerful tool it can be for you. So first of all, SHUVA is a kind of language, I like to call SHUVA lingo, that helps us to talk about the quality of our connection or the lack of quality of our connection. And the kind of cool thing is it can be used as a noun, a verb, or an adjective. So I'll give you some examples. SHUVA used as a noun. Hey y'all, this TEDx talk is pretty scary, so I need a little SHUVA right now. Here's another one. You university folks like this? Students, if you SHUVA your teachers, you will learn a lot more. Or let's build a SHUVA culture as an adjective. The other kind of fun thing about SHUVA lingo is that the word SHUVA can go in almost any little pithy expression and it kind of makes sense. Like, a SHUVA a day keeps the conflict away. Or, this is actually really true, a spoonful of SHUVA makes the medicine go down. I use that one in my coaching. And also, here's kind of a funny one, SHUVA happens. So while SHUVA lingo is kind of corny, and it actually is corny, it's an extremely effective way to make sure that this transformational practice doesn't just evaporate the day after you learn it. Now, another thing about SHUVA is kind of cool is it can sort of be used as a substitute for the word love. So sometimes at work, we talk about love like I love my boss, but this might be kind of confusing because that's generally not the kind of love we're talking about. Instead, it's SHUVA that creates the psychological safety and the quality of connection that we need for collaboration. So when teams commit to SHUVA one another, amazing things happen. Even dysfunctional teams that have bad habits around arguing or talking behind each other's back or spinning, making bad decisions, completely change. They start to listen to one another and they can even solve polarizing problems. And here's the kicker. When the input is SHUVA, the output is love. As in, I love my job, I love my teammates, and I even love my boss. Now, there is a Beatles song that says, all we need is love. I'm sure you know it. All we need is love, da-da-da-da-da. All we need is love. Well, we all know this song because we all need love. But right now, we face political division, remote work, disruptive technology, and a global economy where it's hard to connect and people are so easily misunderstood. So SHUVA is what we really need right now. So, if we lived in a SHUVA-licious world, you would wake up every day and you would SHUVA, you would see, hear, understand, value, and appreciate yourself by listening to your body and your inner wisdom. You would never be lonesome because every person you met would become a welcome opportunity for your learning and growth. You'd go to work and your boss and teammates would get you. And so your good ideas would fall on fertile ground and you could solve any problems together. And all of our lawmakers would shape a SHUVA nation as they SHUVA each other across the political aisle while they work to solve our social, environmental, and economic issues of the day. And most importantly, we would live in a world where every voice matters And together we really can solve anything. So if that sounds good to you, I invite you to start your own SHUVolution right now. All you have to do is pick someone new and SHUVA the shinola out of them. Now when you do this, don't just SHUVA them to make them feel good. SHUVA them because they are good. And when you find the good in them, your world will expand and grow, and so will theirs. Thank you for your SHUVA today.